My dear friends, lawyers should never ask a Mississippi grandma a question if they aren't prepared for the answer. During a trial, a southern small-town prosecuting attorney called as his first witness a grandmotherly elderly woman to the stand. She placed her hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. The attorney approached her and asked, "Mrs. Jones, do you know me?" She responded, "Why, yes, I do know you, Mr. Williams. I've known you since grade school, and frankly, you've been a big disappointment to me. You lie, you cheat on your spouse, you manipulate people, you talk about others behind their backs, you think you're a big shot when you don't have the brains to realize that you'll never amount to anything more than a 2-bit paper pusher. Yes, I know you." The lawyer was stunned. Not knowing what else to do, he pointed across the room and asked, "Mrs. Jones, do you know the defense attorney?" She replied, "Why, yes, I do. I've known Mr. Bradley since he was a youngster, too. He's lazy, bigoted. He has a drinking problem. He can't build a normal relationship with anyone. His law practice is one of the worst in the entire state. Not to mention, he also cheated on spouses with 3 other people. One of them was yours." "Yes, I know him." The defense attorney nearly fainted. The judge asked both attorneys to approach the bench and whispered, "If either of you asks her if she knows me, I'll send you both to the electric chair." My dear friends, the imagery of a court, perhaps not these Mississippi lawyers and judge, but the image of a court is a helpful one as the countdown to the High Holy Days officially begins this weekend with tomorrow evening's onset of the month before Rosh Hashanah, Elul. For the approaching high holidays, a heavenly court was actually envisioned by the earlier rabbis where the lifetime of a person is reviewed compassionately, I might add, upon arrival in the next world. But this notion of a heavenly court is actually meant not for the deceased, but for us still on earth, so that we can do at least once a year an accounting of our souls known as cheshbon hanefesh, an internal accounting to look critically at our lives, confront our flaws, and believe that we can get better. I think the great question of faith and religious life in general is not whether we sin or err. Of course we do. The key question is about growth, no matter what your age. Have we evolved? And are we still evolving in our relationship with others, with God, and with ourselves? In Jewish theology, God does not condemn us for being imperfect. God created us this way. God loves us. God forgives us. The question is whether we forgive, whether we are still evolving and growing. It's like the piano teacher who said to the student, "You made mistakes this week. You'll make more mistakes at next week's lesson too. Just don't make the same ones." Whatever the relationship is, whether it's a married couple, a teacher and student, worker and coworker, friend and friend, parent and child, citizen and the state, evolution has always been the hallmark of human history. Not simply evolution when it comes to life on this planet, but when it comes to our most cherished relationships and Jewish ideals. Look no further than the first biblical law, which appears after the 10 Commandments in Exodus 20. It's repeated again in this week's Torah portion, Re'eh, Deuteronomy 11:26 to 16:17. We all know the 10 Commandments, but they don't help us much with the details of how to function as a society. For that, we need laws ranging from robbery to damages, from marital relations to high holy days. The first law after the Ten Commandments in Exodus 21 that appears again this week and will be chanted beautifully by our bat mitzvah, Allegra Littman, reads, "When you acquire a Hebrew slave, that slave shall serve for 6 years, and in the 7th year, that slave shall go free." Okay, so this is a big step forward from previous times when a Hebrew slave worked forever, but you are right to ask from your seat 3,000 years later, why only a Hebrew slave? And why did only male slaves go free? And for that matter, why does the Bible allow slavery at all? Why not simply outlaw any human being forced to work for another against their will? Perhaps the Torah should have forbidden slavery. For that matter, perhaps the Torah should have outlawed war and the second-class status of women. After all, if the Torah is a document of eternal laws, perhaps it should have communicated an ethical ideal from the very beginning. But here's the big idea. The deep teaching of the Torah is that ethical laws are not given in their complete form once and for all because life itself isn't given in complete form once and for all. As my teacher, Rabbi Michael Gold, rightly notes in his Torah commentary, and I quote, "Ethical laws evolve as human beings evolve." Among the Greeks, Aristotle spoke of justice, but for Aristotle, this meant giving everybody their due based on their status in life. The wealthy were given more than the working poor, who received more than slaves or women. Was justice part of the ancient Greek outlook? Yes, but it was a rather limited vision of justice. As history develops, our ethics also evolve. But let's be honest, friends, not completely. It's embarrassing that when the U.S. Constitution was enacted, slaves were counted as 3/5 a human being. It took a civil war and over 200 years of history to give equal moral status to people of color, and we're still not there yet. It was only 100 years ago when women were finally granted the right to vote in this country. In religious circles, some streams in the denomination still debate whether women can participate fully in religious life and sing on the bema as you just did, or whether LGBTQ men and women are fully equal. Rabbi Gold is right. The circle of ethical concern continues to expand. We are clearly still evolving Jewishly, at least in our Reform movement's hashkafa. The Hebrew word means our mindset, our philosophy. When it comes to the rights of women to be rabbis, or affirm girls like Allegra to chant from the Torah itself, just as Jeff Blumberg will do next Saturday. We are still evolving as a nation regarding the rights of immigrants in this country, or lack thereof, with the inexcusable caging of kids and intentional trauma inflicted on young children caused by family separations. We are all works in progress as individuals, as Jews, as a nation. Not Rosh Hashanah, but starting Sunday is the time to begin the process of answering the growth question. How can we improve for the better? Now, we already understand the importance of preparation in football, baseball, basketball. We call it preseason. We call it spring training. The month of Elul we begin Sunday is the spiritual equivalent Jewishly. The high holidays, my friends, are always on time. It's we who aren't always ready for them. We can make sure that we're ready not only through personal introspection, but by reaching out to those from whom we are estranged or may have hurt or may have been hurt by and say, If I have failed you or hurt you, please forgive me. I love you. As a rabbi for nearly 3 decades, I've become much more focused on preparing my soul in recent years than preparing my sermons. The prayer book will be in order. It's ourselves we must put in order. Jewish homecoming season is about to begin, not in football terms, but in spiritual terms. It's the time to return and rediscover this amazing spiritual community. If you live here at our synagogue, it's the time for returning to the best each of us can be. It's the time to rekindle faith, which doesn't mean that sorrow will never invade your home or that illness will never strike us or our loved ones. It means to have faith that God will give us, no matter what happens, the strength to endure, to carry on, the power to hold on, see our lives through, the capacity to translate all the experiences we have, the joyful and the sad, into spiritual strength. The month ahead comes to remind us to make our families, community, and world just a little better because we're in it. We're in this world. We're in life. And God needs us to bring about shalom rather than to just sit here and pray for it. After tomorrow, I hope you'll begin saying Lashana Tova or Lashana Tova Ruchaniya Umtuka. May it be a good, sweet, spiritual new year for you and those you love. A heightened year of awareness of your place in this world, God's world, the difference you can make, no matter who you are, no matter how young or old you are, no matter what happens in this fragile, precious, beautiful life. L'shana tova u'mituka tikatevu. May each of us be ready to return to a sweet and good year in the proper frame of mind, choosing joy with a whole heart, a willing spirit, as we return again, nashuva, to teshuva.